Into the Light is here, and with it comes a brand new set of weapons, the Brave Arsenal. So today, we're going to be deep diving into these weapons and ranking them based on their ability to perform in a PvE environment to help you know which ones you should grind for first. Since Into the Light just launched, I haven't been able to get my hands on these weapons. So this is a look at their perk pools and comparing their god rolls to any competition they might have. Note, these are just my opinions, and if you disagree, then you can go. Remember to leave a like if you find this video helpful, and if you like seeing build videos and other Destiny 2 helpful content, consider hitting that subscribe button. That being said, let's jump right on into it. I will be breaking these weapons down by each slot: kinetic, energy, and heavy slot. So first up, kinetic slot. And the first weapon we're going to be looking at is the Blast Furnace, which is a kinetic aggressive burst pulse rifle. I will start by saying I am a bit biased when it comes to pulse rifles. For some reason, the balance between range, stability, and time to kill feels really good on certain pulse rifles to me. One of my most used weapons this season is the Authoritative, which is a solar pulse rifle. So I am very excited to get my hands on the Blast Furnace again and see how it feels. We only have a few other aggressive frame pulse rifles in the game, one of those being Disparity, which is my favorite stasis pulse rifle. This thing is going to hit like a tank and have decent stability. There isn't a single weapon in the game that can roll with both kinetic tremors and frenzy. The fact that you can get increased base damage and reloading from frenzy, plus deal AoE damage with kinetic tremors, has me super excited to get my hands on this weapon. This might end up being my go-to kinetic pulse rifle, and for that reason, I'm giving it an A rank. Definitely go for it if you can, though there will be a few more weapons with spicier rolls later on. Now, we gotta talk about the Mountaintop. As far as special grenade launchers go, there's not much difference between this and others. The biggest differences are the movement tech and its micro missile ability. With Mountaintop, you can shoot at your feet and boost yourself into the air. Pair this with grapple, eager edge swords, or skimmers, and it's gonna lead to some very fun and interesting ways to get around. Micro missiles will make your grenades fire in a straight line at a much faster pace, making it a little bit easier to hit your shots. Mountaintop is such a unique weapon. If anything, you want to make sure you at least get one of them just for the movement, but it does come with two very spicy rolls that I am looking forward to. First is Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie. This combo leads to easy reloading and plays into any grenade spam builds that you might have. The other roll that I'm looking forward to is Auto-Loading Holster and Recombination. A grenade launcher with auto-loading feels great, but the fact that it can also get recombination means that this weapon is going to feel like a grenade launcher version of Succession and Heritage, which are my two favorite sniper and shotguns. The moment that I saw this could get a roll with auto-loading and recombination, I knew this was going to be at the top of my list to go for, and that's why I'm giving it an S tier. It not only has some of the best perks for grenade launcher, but it also brings a fun factor to the game. The next weapon we're looking at is the Midnight Coup, which is a kinetic adaptive frame hand cannon. I'll start by saying that if you like using hand cannons, you'll probably want to get this gun. Being an adaptive frame means that it has one of the best feelings of being decent in nearly all categories. This weapon can roll with some pretty spicy perks too. You could go for a full damage roll like Explosive Payload and One for All, or Firefly and Kinetic Tremors, but if you want a bit of balance, you can go with a reload perk like Frenzy or Enlightened Action, plus a damage perk. Personally, I think Explosive Payload with Frenzy is going to be one of my favorite rolls, and I remember using Midnight Coup all the time when Destiny 2 launched. In today's sandbox, I'm not quite sure how it'll hold up. Most builds really excel when you bring a weapon that complements it. Since Midnight Coup is a kinetic, it doesn't really complement any particular build, so I don't think it'll ever be best in slot, but it will be decent with every build, and that's why I'm giving it a B. It's a perfect example of being good but never the best. It is absolutely mind-boggling to me that Destiny is bringing raid weapons out of raids to be farmable elsewhere. I'm super happy for any players that don't get the chance to farm raids that often, since Succession has to be one of my most recommended weapons. I love matching my primary weapon to my subclass, so that means I deal a ton of elemental kills with my primary weapon, and then I swap to this sniper and deal massive damage to any boss, mini-boss, or elite. With recombination, you can work up to 10 stacks, and that'll give you 100% more damage, dealing double damage with one single shot. And since this is a kinetic sniper, it also deals 15% more damage than any elemental sniper. The number one role I'm recommending is Reconstitution and Recombination. I love this so that my weapon's always reloaded, and you can start any boss phase by shooting that double damage shot and then swap to a heavy for ammo dumping. Man, I really want to put this weapon at an S or A rank, though since I already have this role, and I'm sure some of you do too, I'm actually putting it at a B. There's not that much of a difference from the raid version. So if you have the raid version, you don't necessarily need to farm for this. But if you do need a kinetic sniper, this is one of the best around. And the final weapon in the kinetic slot is the Jury SR4, which is a kinetic precision frame scout rifle. Scout rifles aren't super strong right now. They do offer safety at range, but this will also be the fourth version of Jury that we've gotten in the past 10 seasons. I'm honestly just sick of this weapon. Yes, it has decent perks, so if you're new, you can go for it. But I'm sure nearly every one of you has a decent Jury somewhere in your vault. Just go use that one. Don't farm for this one. There are so many other better weapons on this list. It's a no-brainer no-brainer that this one's getting a D rank for me. If you get a good roll, cool, but for the love of God, don't target farm this. All right, moving on to the energy slot. First on our list is going to be Elsie's rifle, which is a void pulse rifle. As I mentioned before, I am a fan of pulse rifles. If this gun shoots anything like the exotic No Time to Explain, then I'm super excited for it. While it doesn't have the absolute best perks, it does have a few decent options. I love the idea of having a repulsor brace with frenzy. Repulsor brace is just so much fun on void builds that use volatile rounds. Shoot and kill enemies and you get an overshield. It's that simple. Adding in frenzy means you get quicker reloads plus extra damage. While I think this is the best roll, you do have other options like Enlighten Action and Desperado to absolutely spray bullets with quick reloads. Void pulse rifles do have a little bit of competition, like the Velis X, which you can straight up buy from the kiosk in the tower, and that can roll with repulsor brace and golden tricorn. Since there are other good options here, I'm going to be giving this a B rank. It's worth it to grind for if you don't have a decent void pulse rifle or if you don't like the Velis X. Otherwise, there are some better options. The next weapon we're looking at is the Recluse, and this weapon is straight up copium for some of you. The sandbox has drastically changed, and honestly, I'm not that excited for the Recluse. It's basically the same weapon as the funnel web, which has been around forever. The perk coming back from it that everyone loves, Master of Arms, is terrible. Apparently it works like this. You get a 15% damage boost when you get a kill. Just use Frenzy. It will give you 15% damage, 100 handling, and 100 reload speed just by staying in combat. The only reason why I'll be picking up one of these is to get a roll with Repulsor Brace and Frenzy, since I don't have a good submachine gun right now that has that combo. And that's why I'm giving this a C rank. It's just a copy-paste version of Funnel Web, and it only has 1 or 2 perks that might be better. You also have Unforgiven, which is a fantastic void SMG as well. There's nothing that exciting or new coming with this weapon. Luna's Howl, on the other hand, is a weapon that I'm very much looking forward to, and I don't even use hand cannons that often. Magnificent Howl sounds like a fantastic perk, offering you 50% damage per bullet based on how many precision kills you get in the previous clip. There aren't that many damage perks out there that can even come close to 50%, let alone with how easy it is to proc. It can also get the fantastic combo of Heal Clip and Incandescent if you really want a hand cannon that pairs into your solar build. I have a feeling that with Enlightened Action and Magnificent Howl, you'll be hitting like a tank and reloading with ease. There are some other solar hand cannons out there that can get similar rolls, but none of them can get this new best damage perk. For that reason, I'm giving this an A rank. A roll with Magnificent Howl is just worth getting, and definitely high on my priority list. And the final weapon in the energy slot is going to be Forbearance, which is an arc waveframe grenade launcher. While waveframe grenade launchers will be getting a nerf, they'll still be very strong for ad clear, especially when paired with chain reaction. Forbearance has been and will continue to be one of the best weapons for ad clear. Even if you have a raid version of this weapon, picking up a god roll from the Brave set is still worth it. You can get Demolitionist, which will give you back 10% of your grenade and reload your weapon when throwing your grenade. This pairs perfectly for a grenade build like Hoyle Arc Titan, not to mention the intrinsic ability will also give back more grenade energy. And if you find this to be too much grenade energy, you could pair it with Unrelenting or Disruption Break. Unrelenting basically gives you a better version of the old Forbearance. It will now give you 65 health and start health regen on every 3 kills, which is easy to proc with a waveframe grenade launcher. Not to mention you still have that intrinsic, which will give back more grenade energy. This thing is going to be absolutely busted. I'm giving this an S rank. If you have Forbearance or not, you want this weapon. It clears out rooms of enemies and gives back ability energy. This is one of the first weapons that I'm going to be grinding for, even though I already have a god roll of the raid version, so make sure to pick one up. And finally, taking a look at our heavy weapons. Hold on to your hats because this next weapon is going to be just as spicy as the last. Edge Transit used to be a meme, but it's now a very solid option for DPS. Over the past season, we've seen a few changes to the sandbox, giving grenade launchers more room to shine. While I do believe the absolute highest DPS still comes from Rocket with bait and switch and Wolfpack rounds active, grenade launchers are starting to deal pretty good DPS while also having enough ammo to deal more total damage than rockets. Rockets really only excel when you have Wolfpack rounds, which means you need a teammate with Galley. Otherwise, they aren't as strong as the average player thinks they are. If you run solo content or just can't find a teammate to run Galley with your rocket, then this weapon will be your new best friend. With perks like autoloading and Cascades Point in the 3rd column, you can make some very spicy rolls when you have bait and switch and frenzy in the 4th column. The easiest roll for most people would be autoloading and bait and switch, but I can only imagine the amount of absolute damage you can output with a combo like Cascades Point and bait and switch. I'm giving this an S rank. The only other option for a bait and switch grenade launcher is a trials weapon that will take a lot of grinding to get a god roll. This weapon can match that weapon and should be a bit easier to get. This should be near the top of your list to grind for. After that, we have Falling Guillotine, which is a void vortex frame sword. I typically look at swords as a DPS option for niche niche scenarios, since I don't really like to use them for ad clear. This does have some good options like Relentless Strikes and Whirlwind Blade, which is an OG roll, though it might be worth pairing with Frenzy instead for the extra 15% damage. This won't output as much DPS as something like Bequest, which can get enhanced surrounded, but it still stands as a good option since you can get Frenzy and surrounded. I could dive into more perks, but honestly, this has so many viable perks, it just depends on how you plan on using it. My top rolls would probably be Frenzy and Surrounded for DPS, or Frenzy and Eager Edge for movement, and finally Chain Reaction and Sword Logic for ad clear. Swords still lack DPS in most situations, and can be hard to use. This weapon does have some variety and some good rolls, so because of that, I will be giving it a B rank, since there are some other weapons you should be grinding for first. And one of those weapons would be the Hammerhead, which is a Void Adaptive Frame machine gun. For some reason, machine guns feel best on Void subclasses. I don't know if it's the volatile rounds, Devour, or Overshield, but it feels nice mowing down enemies with a Void machine gun. This weapon has a very spicy roll that will absolutely annihilate everything in sight. With the ability to have Rampage and Killing Tally, after just 3 kills, you can have an increased 73% damage. I can only imagine how powerful this would be on a Gear Falcon's Hunter build, or a Void Soul build like the Briarbine's Warlock. If you need a DPS machine gun, you do have some good perks like 4 times the Charm or Envious Assassin, pairing with Target Lock to deal some decent damage, though machine guns aren't really known for their DPS. I have a feeling this weapon with Rampage and Killing Tally will shred all levels of content, even Grandmaster Nightfalls. The only reason I'm not giving this an S rank is because machine guns can't keep up in terms of DPS on bosses. This weapon will be the best option for ad clear and even help with mini bosses like Tormentors, so I'm gonna be giving this an A rank. It will definitely be worth grinding for, especially for that role that has Rampage and Killing Tally. Guardians, we've covered every weapon introduced with Into the Light, from ad clearing machines to outputting massive DPS. This video has shown you which weapons have potential and which might not be worth your time. Remember, these are just my opinions of the best perks. Choose roles that fit your playstyle and grind for weapons that you need the most. If you found this video helpful or just enjoyed seeing a new perspective, feel free to like the video and comment down below which weapons you're chasing for first. Which weapons do you think will be your favorite from this set? Keep an eye out for future videos as we continue to explore the ever-evolving world of Destiny 2. Until then, may the threads of fate be ever in your favor. This is Lucky Mech, signing off. See you on the next adventure, Guardians.